It's 2023 and everyone is selling you on your New Year's resolutions or choosing a word of the year. But what if you just decided to step up and into your next level vision? Hello, everyone. It's Heather, and I'm back. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to let you know about something I'm super excited about this January. It's called Your Next Level Year. Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/join, JOIN. We are going to be diving into what is it that your soul is craving? How do you want to feel? And not only are we going to talk about our vision, but I'm also going to give you my 10-minute habit challenge. So you can discover how to create those 10-minute tiny micro actions in alignment with how you want to feel both at home and in your work. You want to yell less, you want to make more money, you want your time and energy back. How do you want to feel in 2023? Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/join, register, and we'll see you on the inside. Do you ever struggle to understand how to communicate with your teenager? Today, I want to give you a different perspective when it comes to parent-teen communication and developing the skills to acquire the type of relationship that you desire with your teen. Hello, everyone. I'm back, and today I'm actually recording from my phone. No headphones, no microphone, just talking directly into my phone from a New York Airbnb, a tiny ass apartment. Actually, it's not that small compared to other New York apartments I've been in and what people are probably perceiving as a small apartment. So anyways, we're here in New York for a week-long doctor's appointment that I'm definitely going to be talking about in the coming weeks. And I'm really excited to share with you all about that when it comes to brain health. I'm such a fan of emotional and mental well-being and emotional wellness, emotional fitness, and everything that I talk about is really about how to thrive, right? And there's so much stigma and so much shame when it comes to how to thrive. And we start creating change in our lives and we start to feel better. And yet our children, doesn't matter how old they are trapped in a system that doesn't support them to thrive either. And those systems could be the educational system. They could be actually old parenting systems where it's like us versus them. So today I want to talk about communicating with your teen. My boys are 18, 13, and 10. And for the last few years, I have seen this coming where, I'm in this different phase of my parenting, I'm going to call it career, or my parenting role. And your identity changes, right? Your role in your child's life changes. And if you don't grow with that role, that is where the disconnect happens. That's where the dis-ease happens. And so many of my clients, and I work primarily with women, but I also do work with a few men one-on-one. So many of us struggle with the evolution of our identities and who we need to become in order to create that aligned connection that we desire with our loved ones. And recently in my community and with the conversations I've been having is really about communication. And I live in a house with, 4 boys, right? So I have my husband, I have three sons. Actually, I live with my mother too. She doesn't live directly with us, but she lives in like a mother-in-law suite apartment. So she has all of her own, she has everything that she needs. So she's not with us all the time. But the interesting part is I live in an environment that I perceive highly triggering, right? We have our child wounds from growing up with our parents, right? That mother-daughter connection, mother-daughter relationship. That's always that's always telling and healing. And then being a female living with men, it's, it's definitely that men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And understanding the brain and how to communicate with the opposite sex. So raising male boys has been not only eye-opening for me from a communication standpoint and how men and women communicate differently because our brains operate differently, but also the identity piece of who we need to become as our children get older. So that's primarily what I'm talking about today. So I want you to think about this. When your child is small, your goal is as a parent, your goal is always to keep your child happy, healthy, and safe, right? And for a really long time, as your child is growing up, you have control. You get to protect them. You have control of everything. Most of the time, you have control of what they wear, control of what they eat, control of their bedtime, where they're at. And then they get to this age, it's around 12 years old, 12 to 18, where they're in the identity phase. And the whole point of this is if you are a psychology person like me, Erik Erikson, who has been, in the psychology world forever, known in the psychology world, talks about adolescence as the identity stage. This is where your child is really trying to figure out who they are, right? So they're giving you that pushback. They're pushing the boundaries. That is the role of the child. But here's the challenging part. When your child also has other things going on that you've been challenged with your child growing up, sometimes those things are kind of like get bigger, right? They're triggered, they get bigger. So for those of you who are raising neurodivergent children, meaning they're not neurotypical. So there could be some learning disabilities, there could be some challenges of their brain just thinks differently. You know what I'm talking about. So all of this is to say, when you are growing a human being, right? You're stewarding a human being into adulthood. And here you are being like, okay, not only as a parent do I have to learn to let go of control, right? Like you're no longer like, oh, eat this organic apple. No, the child's going to be like, screw you. I'm going to eat what the hell I want behind your back. So you're learning not to be so controlling, but you're also learning to allow your child to fail, having those boundaries, setting that expectation and letting them bounce back and forth between that. But you're also watching your child begin to understand their brain, right? And you're kind of saying, honey, you've been challenged with this forever, but you're becoming an adult and it's your job now. And the child doesn't understand that, their brain thinks differently. So when the child doesn't understand that their brain thinks differently, of course, we're comparing ourselves to everybody else. We do this as adults as well. But I was listening to this TEDx talk and she talked about these two questions that we need to ask our teens or who we need to be for them. And it was really interesting because active listening is a skill. And I talk about this a lot with people because oftentimes our emotional triggers are little breadcrumbs to something deeper within us. And what you resist will persist and grow bigger. Now, a quick word from today's sponsor, AG1. I started taking AG1 a while ago and slowly my family got on board. We started adding it to the boys' smoothies or just putting it in water. I'm used to the taste now and I really enjoy it. I also love the travel packs that AG1 provides, making it super easy to bring on the road and get through security at the airport. It's one of those simple daily habits that you can take with you, which is surprisingly grounding while you're away from home. It supports better sleep quality and recovery, mental clarity, and alertness. And in 2020, AG donated over 1.2 million meals to children. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune boosting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/EU for emotionally uncomfortable. Again, that's Athletic Greens, ATHLETIC greens.com/EU to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now back to the podcast. So let me give you an example. As a mother, as a woman, you may be a highly sensitive person. You may be a highly anxious person, okay? It's wrapped up in your identity, meaning you've always been this way. So you have a child, you bring these children into the world, you're stewarding them, you are caring for them, raising them, whatever. And your anxiety or your, I'm going to call it controlling tendencies, have been very supportive in your parenting because you've become like hyper vigilant. You go above and beyond. Your perfectionism comes out. And people actually like applaud you for this because they're like, oh my gosh, you're doing this, you're doing this. But most of the time, people don't know you're actually doing it from a place of fear or anxiety, right? So this is what your parenting identity has been wrapped up. And then the child is now coming into identity, the identity stage where they are being like, where they're giving you pushback, right? And they're saying, no, I want to do it this way. I got to figure out who I am. I have to like detach myself from you a little bit. So then your identity is shaken a little bit because you're like, oh my gosh, who am I without being a chronic nurturer? Who am I without doing all these things for my children, right? And I talk a lot about this in my book, Dying to Be a Good Mother, of like the intention of taking care of yourself. Everyone talks about this, right? But you don't realize the importance of your own self-identity when you are stewarding a child into adulthood. Because they, at the same time, are trying to find themselves. That if you don't know who you are, that is going to be very destructive in the communication with your child because it's so incredibly triggering for you. So let me get back to active listening. Most of the time when I am working with somebody and there is conflict in a relationship, and I am not talking about toxic, abusive relationships. And I personally believe that we all have the ability to be toxic. But I am not talking about extreme narcissism. I'm not talking about domestic violence. I'm literally talking about our toxicity and how realizing that we can too be toxic, right? We can be manipulative. We can, project our fears and anxieties onto somebody else and kind of go into that primal fight or flight. We can be cold. So the disconnect in most communication is because we are so full of our own unmet needs and unhealed wounds. So I'm going to say that again. We, as individuals, are incredibly full of our unmet needs and unhealed wounds. So I want you to write that down. When you are triggered, okay, so someone says something to you, and for the sake of today's podcast, I'm talking about the parent-teen relationship. Child triggers you. You're in a spiral, right? You're in your fight or flight, you're in your red zone. What is happening is that child, that relationship is stewing up all of your unmet needs and unhealed wounds. But because we are so emotionally uncomfortable with our own feelings, instead of looking at ourselves, we look at the other person and we try to control them. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because active listening is the skill. I talk a lot about this in my coaching, which is where we talk about this in personal relationships, and we also talk about this in professional relationships. So this carries over too into businesses and corporate, where this goes along with our team, and this goes along with our clients, and everything. Is active listening is such a life skill. So how do you sit there and actively listen to somebody that you love and care for deeply without trying to fix their problems, without trying to be reactive? So the TEDx talk that I was listening to, which was on parent and teen communication, she said, there's these two questions you need to ask. I'm here for you, or these two statements. I'm here for you. And who do you need me to be for you? Like, what do you need from me right now? When you sit in that space, observing and listening to somebody, right? Your child comes to you, there's something going on. To hold that sacred space and be like, okay, I'm here, right? I'm here. I'm going to hold you, like physically, not physically hold you, but like emotionally and energetically hold you, meaning I'm not going to be reactive. I'm just going to like listen. I'm just listening. And you're asking, who do you need me to be for you? Like, what do you need from me? Most of the time, so those are active listening skills, right? Most of the time, anytime I've ever asked this to my child, the response I have received is astonishing. Because the response has nothing to do with being fixed. The response is typically, I just need you to listen. So when we're actively listening, it's not just about listening, but it's hearing what your child's behavior, words are saying. And when you begin to actively listen and you start to understand that it has nothing to do with you, right? But your wound of your unmet need or your unhealed wounds, your trigger, that is the magic of saying, okay, my shit is being triggered right now. So I'm going to slide it to the left, and I'm going to be present. And I'm just going to actively listen to my child in front of me. And I'm just going to be here, 100% here. I'm here. I'm listening. What do you need from me? Who do you need me to be? What's really going on? The challenge here is not that as parents, we don't have the script or the strategy, because everyone always wants to know the 3-step easy process and they want to read it every single time, or they want to master it. Is you have to learn how to be present. And learning to be present is emotionally uncomfortable, because you have to decipher what is yours, your responsibility to heal, what is their responsibility that they may or may not ever heal. And you have to sit in it. But when we live in a culture of fixing, a culture of busyness, an expectation that the woman, mother, caregiver is supposed to take on everything and, manage those problems. When we are not present in our lives, we start to act from this place of reactivity. And then it's go, 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 go. And then you end up burning out. Because we don't know how to manage our fears. We don't know how to manage our anxieties. And we want an answer. And we want that answer now. And we want the solution yesterday. So I want you to remember this. When you are in the role as the caregiver for a teenager, doesn't matter what your role is. It could be parent, it could be coach, it could be teacher, it could be grandparent, mentor. When there's a teenager in your life, your role, your identity is shifting from leading that child, meaning like essentially doing the work for them, right? Getting them dressed, making a meal, to a partnership. And when you are shifting from leadership of that child or teen, like I'm leading you, I'm making the decisions, right? You don't have the capacity to do so, versus co-creating with that person. Hey, I see you're struggling. What's going on? Let's figure this out together. Teen avoids. No, come on, let's come back. Let's figure this out together. This is a challenge. Let's figure it out together. Not only does that take great patience, it takes incredible presence. And with that incredible presence comes intention. That you as the adult, you as the caregiver are shifting your entire identity. Who are you if you're not doing for others all the time? How deeply ingrained is that story and that role and that responsibility? We have been born and bred as women to be nurturers. And we live in a society that convinced us that we need to give, and receive nothing. Although our purpose is to receive, and the giving and receiving has to happen both at the same time. If we are not in that flow of the giving and receiving, then that's where disconnect happens. That's where misalignment happens. That's where we feel out of balance. That's where we don't feel present. And sometimes the receiving is just about surrender. Okay, I need to stop doing for other people today. Hey, everyone, you're responsible for this. Yeah, it's going to make you emotionally uncomfortable. You'll figure it out. I believe in you. Dinner's on you tonight. Yeah, I know that's uncomfortable. Yeah, I know that sucks. That's okay. You're going to have to figure it out sometime. Yeah, today I'm buying back my time and energy. I'm receiving. I'm surrendering. Let the plates fall a little bit. Let people feel their feelings. It's so required in our receiving. So remember, when you are shifting into this role or into this season of your life, when you are now becoming the caregivers for teenagers, your identity is also shifting from leading that child to co-creating with them. And in order to figure this out, you have to be willing to learn how to be present and to actively listen. All right, that's what I got for you today. I want you to head on over to Instagram at Heather Chauvin, Chauvin. And I want you to send me a DM. Let me know your biggest aha takeaway. And if you are on Instagram, take a screenshot of this and tag me as well. I truly appreciate it. That's it. Keep in touch and know that you're not alone on this journey. It's definitely a lot of inner work, and we got to show up, right? We got to show up. And if we don't, that is where the disconnect happens.
Are you ready to take back control of your time and energy? But the thought of where to start feels overwhelming. I created something for you. It's called the Energy Finder Quiz. Yep. This quiz takes less than 2 minutes, and it helps you identify where to focus so you can conquer your dreams without feeling like you're failing as a mother. After coaching hundreds of women, helping them reverse engineer how they want to feel in their personal and professional lives, I started to notice 4 hidden skills that women must master in order to create the work-life balance that they crave. So head on over to Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/life quiz. heatherchauvin.com/life, LIFE quiz, QUIZ, and get started. I even give you specific podcast episodes to listen to based on your Energy Finder quiz results. The goal is to show you where to focus so you can regain your time and energy and become the woman you deeply know you are capable of becoming. heatherchauvin.com/life quiz.